We'll kick it off and I will ask for nominations for the chair.
Okay. I'm not, I am honored to nominate Representative Evelyn Kornheiser to be chair. I've worked with Emily for many years on this committee. She is hardworking, knowledgeable, and has run us very well.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, I'll call the nominations closed. All those in favor, do I need to do a roll call? No, we'll just do this one. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Let me turn it over to you.
Thank you. I think next, some nominations for vice chair. Do we have any nominations?
Yes, I would like to nominate Senator Cummings for vice chair.
Any other nominations? Seeing none, I'll close the nomination. All those in favor, Senator Cummings for vice chair.
Aye.
All those opposed? Seeing none, thank you. Congratulations. I think we'll make a delightful pair.
Yes.
Any nominations for clerk?
Yes,
I didn't get in there fast enough.
as the clerk for the past 2 years, it is my honor and privilege to nominate Senator Beck as the clerk for the 25-26 joint fiscal year committee.
Wonderful. Any other nominations? Seeing none, all those in favor, Senator Beck for clerk.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
So noted.
I believe the ayes have it. Thank you so much for your service, Senator Beck.
Here you go.
Okay.
It's easy.
Next on the agenda, we have the adoption of committee and office policies.
Well, first of all, congratulations and thank you all for all the work we had to do on this committee. You have a document that just has draft on it that says Legislature Fiscal Committee and Office Policies. And first of all, I'm Catherine Benham, Chief Fiscal Officer. And you will need to adopt these. And I thought in walking through these also, we could, your statutes in there, so you'll have a sense of what your responsibilities are, if that works for you all. So let me just quickly say though, the Joint Fiscal Committee started in 1968 and it was 8 members, and its responsibilities were to carry on continual review of the fiscal operations of the state. So that was where it started, including revenues, budgeting, and expenditures. And then the office was created in 1973. So that gives you a short history of where we are. And I'll just remind you all, I think you know, we're separate from Legislative Council. They do the drafting, we do the numbers, but we work closely with them. And if I might have you turn, page 1, it's the pages or numbers are at the top. Page 1 is where the statutory records start. And these are the members of the committee, and you all are here for these reasons. You elected a chair, vice chair, and clerk. And you have to adopt the rules of procedure, which will come in this document. And you can meet at any time. I'm looking at B on page 1. Committee may meet at any time at the call of the chair or majority of the members of the committee. And if I go on to the next page, which is an important page also, page 2, your responsibilities are to hire the chief fiscal officer, carry on continuing review of the fiscal operations of the state, including revenues, budgeting, and expenditures, accept grants and approve any related limited service petitions, gifts, loans, or any other thing of value approved by the governor. Establish prioritization for the work of the Joint Fiscal Office and keep minutes of its meetings and maintain a file thereof. So I'm going to walk through a lot of this. You're going to get to the grants piece. Sorcha will walk you a little bit more through the grants process, but that gives you a sense about what you all do. If I might remind you, Senator, we've got it right there. The Joint Fiscal Committee typically meets at the end of July when the revenue forecast is done, and then again in September and November. The Joint Fiscal Committee has some authority off session, like you're accepting the grants, and occasionally in bills, you're given some authority depending on various provisions the legislature passes for you all to make some fiscal decisions when the General Assembly is not in session. So those are the big broad view of what your responsibilities are.
I hesitate to bring this up because maybe I should have seen this before, or maybe, I am on human services and not on appropriations or ways and means. But when I look at the creation of the committee,
Mhm.
it says 5 committees, 5 reps from the House and 5 from the senators, but I see chair of House on Appropriations and Ways and Means, and then 2 members of the House.
And there's a
That-
third, there's a number 7. Look at the second half of number 7.
Oh, the second half. Thank you. I read the first half and it says done it. Thank you.
You're not out.
Right, okay. Gotcha.
Shall I keep
Yes,
going?
please.
Okay. On page 3 is the joint fiscal office. I'm not gonna walk through all of this, but we're here to help you. We work very specifically, if you look at the page 3, 523, the functions of confidentiality. It names the committees we specifically work for, which are the money committees, the appropriations committees, the finance and ways and means committees, the transportation committees, and the corrections and institutions, and the Senate Committee on Institutions, which may have been renamed, but I don't know if it has officially been renamed, but it's doing technology and institutions. We also, as you know, provide services to other people, especially in areas that have big fiscal impacts, like healthcare, is one of the areas that we work on. And we also provide fiscal and budget assistance to the Joint Legislative Management Committee. We work on the legislative budget. And we help other offices with that. What else do I want to say? We also, I'm looking on page 4, I'm trying to move quickly, so stop and ask questions if you have any, but we have the basic needs budget, which is part of our responsibility that you'll see on the bottom of page 4 and the top of page 5. And then top of page 6 are the rules of procedure. And I should just say to you also, this document is essentially the same as one from 2 years ago with a few changes. You will see highlights a little bit later on, and then there were some grammatical changes like capitalization that were changed that I didn't highlight.
I think Senator Pritchard has.
I do have a question, and I apologize to the chair for not bringing this up before, but on the rules of procedure, it requires everyone present to vote. If that's right, I read that. Yes, all members present, including the chair, shall vote. Does a vote include to abstain, or is that not allowed?
If it's, I know that you have abstained in the past because it's directly impacted, your work life. That's totally appropriate to abstain. And actually, when we vote on the minutes, those folks who are on the committee for the first time today should abstain from the vote on the minutes.
Because in the Senate, you can't abstain. So there was some confusion when I abstained once, so I just wanted to clarify that. An abstain is a vote.
So these are the rules of procedure that have been the same, and I'm not gonna go through them unless you want me to.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Going on to page 8, these are policies for the committee and the office. And you will see in highlight, it said the joint fiscal officer as opposed to the chief fiscal officer, and what in statute says chief, so we just changed all those joints to chiefs. And basically, this is saying that how we prioritize work and what we do and how we deal with the requests we get. Again, if you want me to go through anything, I'm happy to answer any questions, but I'll keep going. And then top of page 10, this is title 32. This is about grants. And when we get to the grant section, Sorcia's going to walk you through the process of it, but this is all the statutory language about grants and what in the approval process, the executive branch approval, the governor has to review, then it comes to us. And we're going to cover this, right?
Okay.
I'm asking.
I wasn't going to, I was just going to talk about grants.
Okay, you talked about the 30 days and the,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes, I am going to cover that. Thank you.
So there, if anybody has any questions, I can also answer any more detailed questions now or later. This is all the statutes, and you're allowed to approve limited service positions. Top of page 14 is the grant acceptance policy that you all will be adopting. And this is again, the same as last time, with the exception of there are 2 places in yellow on page 15. The request for expedited, and I would say all these changes that we're proposing are actually what we're doing right now. Sorcia has worked it out with the finance and management people, so this is reflecting current practice. So this expedited request must be made via the designated joint fiscal staff, so it would come to Sorcia. If somebody has an expedited grant request, and then she would funnel it to the chair. So we just wanted to make it clear that that was how it would come. And the second change is at the bottom of page 16, where we are asking for 2 business days for you all to receive grant requests 2 business days prior to a meeting, because what often happens is a lot come in right before the meeting, and it's a way to give you all some time to review it and have a chance to read it.
And just for newer members of the committee, during this session, we usually review grants via email. We don't need to approve grants. It's just we're approving grants in person today because we had a meeting scheduled because we had a forum. And it's just during the off session that we usually approve grants in person, but sometimes we do those via email too if they're expedited.
Yes, and I would just say also, when you have a meeting, there's nothing like a deadline to focus people, and so there is a lot come in right at the very last moment when you are meeting, and people know you're gonna be meeting. So that's the goal, to try to give you a little time to review them. Starting on page 17 are some policies for the office. This was exactly what we had last year. We've adopted them knowing that the Joint Legislative Management Committee might adopt things that supersede this, but we wanted to have it in place as a placeholder.
I'm sorry, I'm just going back to the bottom, page 16, when you were talking about prep time. The use of the word should bothers me a little bit, to be honest, because it's that's like may. It's like, yeah, it'd be good idea. I mean, if we really mean it, we should say shall.
Yes, and there may be times where something, I don't know, a critical grant comes in at the last minute, and the goal is to have it 2 days before, and there's always in my life been exceptions to times when you want to not be locked in completely. So,
I guess I would say the administration generally knows when grants are coming.
I think very occasionally we've had to move very fast and they have needed to move very, very fast. I'd rather not keep us from being able to move even faster, but I hear you.
So page 17, so page 18 and 19 are, 18 is the guidelines related to information requests from political candidates. Then there's another policy regarding partisan and political requests for assistance. And the final page is a policy on sexual harassment. And again, these may be superseded if JLMC, there used to be more policies in our packet and the Joint Legislative Management Committee has adopted some policies that covered those topics, but these are still remaining outstanding in terms of a branch-wide policy. So we propose to adopt these, and these are again the same as they were for the last 2 years.
Were there frequent requests from political candidates for information?
There are requests from political candidates. I mean, people call the Joint Fiscal Office. Random citizens sometimes call us for information because they know we're a resource, and we try to provide, if it's easy and it's public information, and especially if it's posted, you can direct people to something that's posted, but we have gotten requests for some things in the past. I think that is it. What do I want us to say? I wanted, as before, you need to adopt this, but before, I also want to introduce Erin Pedley, who is the committee assistant for the Joint Fiscal Committee, and you will be hearing from her, and she will be the person that will be reaching out to you on organizing the meetings, and you will hear again in a minute from Sorcia on the grants as well. And that's it. Thank you all. I look forward to working with you, and I'm here if you ever have any questions on this.
Thank you very much. Welcome motion on agenda item B to adopt the committee office policy.
So moved.
You need a second? No.
So
Did you need a second? Thank you. Except for shy move. Some of are coming. Second, any discussion?
Only, did we lose our clerk? Not
We did lose our clerk.
But it's not a roll call vote.
I know, but.
But we will eventually.
But we
need
will
it.
In
have
terms of the
one.
minutes.
Yeah, we've got to do it for old time's sake once.
It's still thinking in of the new responsibility.
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And we have adopted the new committee office policies. I've lost my agenda here.
Minutes.
Okay, minutes. Any, can I have a motion on the minutes?
So moved.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none? All those in favor of approving the minutes from November 6th?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And those abstaining?
Aye.
Abstentions, aye.
Thank you. Abstentions? And thank you, everyone. Wow, there are so many pieces of paper, which brings me to the fact that Erin is only going to be providing paper packets in the future if they are requested. So she will send an email at the beginning of meetings so that folks can get that.
The agenda has the hyperlinks to the materials. There's still people understanding.
I would just say it's always helpful if there is a couple of printed copies when you get to meetings ahead of time,
Okay,
just in case.
thank you, Richard. Heard. Okay. Next on the agenda, which I cannot find anywhere, there it is. Thank you. Federal funds presentation from Emily Byrne. So given everything that is happening at the federal level, it seemed appropriate for the Joint Fiscal Committee to just spend a moment understanding the relationship between federal funds and our state. So we're not going to go too deep into this, but wanted to make sure that we're giving the attention it deserves in this moment.
Great. So I'm Emily Byrne, the Deputy Fiscal Officer for the Joint Fiscal Office. I put together this presentation actually for the Treasurer's Office or group that's looking at federal funds. I presented to the House Appropriations Committee yesterday. I'm going to do the short version just because you're low on time. You got a lot of grants to approve. But happy to come to whatever committee and give the presentation again elsewhere or answer questions offline or et cetera. But I won't walk through all of the slides. But at a high level, federal funds make up 36% of the budget, so over 2/3 of the state budget. And this is the FY25 budget, right? We've only had the 26 numbers for 2 days, 2.5 days. I guess longer than that at this point, but for not very long. So all the numbers in this presentation are based on fiscal year 2025. And these are appropriated federal funds. So to the extent the legislature has the power of the purse and has to authorize the executive branch to spend funds that include both general funds and federal funds and special funds, any other sorts of funds. This presentation so this is just money running through the state budget. This does not include funds that run directly from the federal government to other entities such as the University of Vermont or towns or other nonprofits within Vermont. This is just money that passes through state government. There are lots of federal programs that have to run through states, and the states sort of operate programs on behalf of the federal government as a matter of practice. So this chart should look familiar. I'm assuming all of you came to the all-member briefing that I did, or that Joint Fiscal put on back in December, but this just gives an overview and breaks down the difference between state and federal funds by sort of the components within the budget, the sort of big areas of spending that happen. You can see that a big chunk of the federal funds support the Medicaid program. That's primarily where federal funds go. And then if you look at the specific sort of bars themselves in terms of the percentage of those bars that are green versus blue are important to take into account. So like transportation is 60% approximately federally funded. Natural resources takes in a lot of federal funds and sort of that relationship between, sort of where the total funding stack is coming from. This is that same information just in spreadsheet form because some people digest information better in pictures like charts and some people digest it better in the spreadsheet form, but this is sort of shows those percentages. Sort of total appropriations, total spending in FY25 by area of government, and then the federal funds in those areas and what that percentage is for those areas. I'm not gonna go into specifics on this one, but you can see sort of where most of the federal funds are landing is. The Department of Labor is another one that I didn't mention on the previous slide, but they are mostly federally funded as well. So just important things to think about when you're thinking about federal funds, right? It's not money that just is given to the states, and, you know, you do whatever with. There are match requirements often with federal funds. Thinking about it as the federal government likes the states often to have some sort of skin in the game, if you will, so that the states are also contributing to those programs. The big one is Medicaid. And you hear a lot about the FMAP, the Federal Medicaid Assistance Percentage, which is what's calculated as the state's contribution and the federal contributions Medicaid. A lot of times federal grants have a maintenance of effort requirement, meaning that you have to kind of continue to provide the same level of service that you did in a previous year in future years. A lot of times there's, when you talk about managing federal funds and think about federal funds, there's this supplement versus supplant idea. So this is that the federal government generally isn't providing grants to do work that state government is already doing. It's to enhance or provide additional funds for work that's already happening at the state level. And as Catherine brought up, and as this committee is aware and is about to do, the approval and acceptance of federal funds happens by the Joint Fiscal Committee. So anytime there is a new federal grant that comes to the state, the sort of first stop is the Joint Fiscal Committee in terms of authorizing the spending of those funds by state government. And I should mention also, I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but it's important also to remember that federal funds support lots of things. So a lot of it we think of as money going out as grants to state partners or towns or other entities, but it also is supporting, you know, operations of state government in a way. There's lots of state employees that are working on these federal programs that are funded through federal funds. The federal government also, you know, recognizes the fact that it takes, you know, you need to have a Department of Human Resources and a Department of Finance and Management and sort of your overhead type departments to function as state government, and they sort of contribute their fair share to those things, which is why the internal service funds exist. So there is also this sort of federal funds are sort of webbed into lots of parts of state government sort of through those processes. So I'm not going to go into specifics just to be sensitive towards time, but I broke down sort of each of those big sections of government that receive federal funds by the specific departments to sort of drill in even further in terms of where those dollars are going by department within those areas of government. So that's what these next sets of slides show. One thing I will point out on the Agency of Human Services one, this came up in House Appropriations yesterday, but when you look at this, you say, really, the Department of Mental Health and Dale only get these really small allocations of federal funds? Because of the way that the Global Commitment Fund works, it's all showing up in that Global Commitment line item. So the Global Commitment match is $1.2 billion, right? And then that gets reallocated as Global Commitment funds back out to the departments. So this is a little, the grants that aren't Global Commitment, like the Department of Health grants, right, show up as federal funds, but anything that's in the Medicaid space shows up as Global Commitment match. We have natural resources, commerce and community development, which includes VHCB. The other one that I would highlight on this, right, so there is, and you'll notice in general government, that's usually a place where there aren't federal funds. That one is specifically the Department of Libraries that receives federal funds. The other thing that I did on this slide related to the Agency of Education is sort of excluded all of the state payment to education and the payment to the Teachers Retirement Fund. Is that in terms of including those numbers in the denominator doesn't really reflect sort of federal funds as it supports state government. So the $354 million that's here, that's sort of just operations of the Agency of Education. And that is a significant amount of federal funds that supports the Agency of Education. And then the last slide that I have just in terms of as a resource, Marcia Howard came to the all-member briefing that we did from FFIS. FFIS is a great resource. This federal fund, I should note in the printed packet, it says federal funds per capita. It shouldn't say per capita. We'll make sure it's right on the website, but that snapshot is a really good snapshot that they do for every state, and it sort of shows, you know, Vermont is a net receiver of federal funds, meaning we get more from the federal government that we pay in federal income taxes as a state. So, and it, you know, has good information and like a cool graphic. I probably should have shown it, but I didn't. If you want to look at it, but it has interesting information in terms of how federal funds are flowing.
Emily, just a quick question. Somewhere, I think in the statutes, the Joint Fiscal Committee, if the revenues are down after we're not in session any longer by a couple percent or something, that the administration can propose rescissions to the current year budget that the Joint Fiscal Committee can act on, accept or reject. My question is, does revenues include federal funds? Like if we find out Congress in August, said we were going to give you, we thought we were going to get X amount, and all of a sudden that appropriation at the federal level has changed, and therefore we're not. Is that revenue to the state, and would that be something the Joint Fiscal Committee could potentially be asked to approve?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that question.
We can ask.
We'll find out.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Thank
think
you.
that's more of a ledge.
I'm just today's environment, it's just something we have
It's a
to
good
be
question.
cognizant of. We wouldn't have perhaps thought of it a couple years ago, but today,
I,
I would
so,
really encourage
Couple weeks
folks to
ago.
also, we took testimony in Ways and Means today, and I think a few other committees have had a presentation from the treasurer's office about the reserve study and the
Yeah.
study about stress testing.
Right.
I think you all have heard that too. I think what Emily's sharing and that together, I think form sort of a very preliminary picture of what we need to be thinking about. Senator, what's going
I
on?
was gonna say, in some experience, having been through a fair amount, I don't think it does include federal. I think it's our own revenue sources. So that might be something that not just ask that you come back with the information, but if so, they would look and see how others might handle it, or a suggestion from Joint Fiscal on how to move forward with that, because it is a little unprecedented.
And perhaps we might need to change statute.
Mhm.
Is that what you're?
I think.
Well,
No,
I'm
that's
looking
a
for
fair
some
point.
suggestion
Yeah.
to, push us in a direction,
right.
in that, to give us something to talk about on how we might handle that.
I mean, the alternative is for the governor to call a special session. So,
Right.
Thank you. Thank you. Emily.
You're welcome.
Okay, we are moving on to grants. So should I want to bring this for a moment? And before Sorcha starts, I just want to name for folks, we don't have very many minutes left. Did not realize what the Senate floor timing was with regards to the committee meeting. So I'm sorry about that. So we might just give some thought to the idea that we might go through the grants and only call up the representatives from those agencies if requested, rather than having them formally come up for you. Go ahead, Sorcha.
Hey, Sorcha Anderson, Joint Fiscal Office. Myself and my colleague at JFO, Scott Moore, we provide administrative assistance for the grant approval process. We also maintain the grant spreadsheet, which is found on the Joint Fiscal Committee tab of the Joint Fiscal Office website. If it's helpful at all to give a high-level overview of the grant process in Vermont. Okay, so very high level, if an agency or department is notified that they are receiving something of value, anything over $15,000 or over, that request is going to come to the Joint Fiscal Committee eventually, as well as any limited service positions that they would like to create. Was it something I said? So the $15,000 and above, it can be federal funds they've applied for, a donation of land, perhaps, or a piece of art. Anything under $15,000 is considered a small grant, and the Department of Finance and Management keeps track of those. And JFC will receive a quarterly report of any activity, small grants. Once the agency is notified, they begin, yes?
When's the last time that figure was changed? How long has that been in effect?
You know, I think within the last, I want to say 6 years, I think that was changed when Dan was here.
I can double check. All right. The agency or department first will bring the request to Department of Finance and Management, filling out their requirements. If the department thinks it looks good, they send it to the governor's office. If the governor signs it, last step is joint fiscal office, where either Scott or I will prepare the material for you guys. There are three ways you might accept a grant. One is the 30-day waiting period. This is all an email process, as the chair mentioned. That's in statute, the 30-day waiting period. We also might deal with it with an expedited review. If department agencies are able to ask for an expedited review, that's also done via email, and you might approve the request at the JFC meeting, which you'll have the pleasure of doing several of them, more than several, after I'm done here. The 30-day waiting period is our default, so I'll talk a little bit more about that. I'll send an email with the materials. Once you review it, if everything looks good, it's customary to reply, okay to proceed. On the email is the committee and myself, and all conversation we have about the grant, we ask that you reply all. It keeps it in everyone's mind that there is a grant in process. If you have a question about the grant, direct that question to me, please, rather than reaching out to the agency. It's just to help keep duplicative requests going to the agency contact. I'll collate your concerns or questions, work with the agency to get a response and send it back to you. For the 30-day process, I just need a quorum of okay to proceeds. I won't come looking for you if you don't answer. After the 30 days elapses, I'll send in a formal approval to the department for acceptance. If we're in an expedited review process, if you get an email that says that we're in an expedited review, that means I've talked to the chair and she's approved the process, not necessarily the grant or the request, but the process. There's no set timeline, but I always shoot for a 7-day turnaround. I still only need a quorum of okays, but in the expedited process, I will look to get a response from each of you. Because at any point in time, any one of you can say, I want this held for the next meeting. I think we need to discuss this in person with the department. So that's always an option that's available. Let's see. Any questions on that? No? Okay. Oh, I'm already at my last joke here. I'm so glad Representative Harrison is here. So if you've talked with Representative Harrison, you might get the idea that I am in your email way too much during the year. All right, so I just want to give you an idea of what to expect.
I don't know whoever said that.
I want to give you an idea of what to expect as far as volume. So in the year 2024, January to December, there were 60 requests. Embedded within those 60 requests or standalone, there were 37 limited service position requests. At the JFC meetings, we approved 20 of those requests. For the 30-day waiting period process, we had 25 requests, and expedited review, 15 requests. Some of the meeting, there's a little bit of overlap between the meeting and the 30-day waiting period, because anytime a meeting is scheduled, any grant in the 30-day waiting period generally gets pulled into the meeting. And that's all.
Thank you. I think that's a very appropriate volume of email.
Oh, thank you. I think it's not the volume of grants. I think it's the reply all, and
It's
we
the
all
reply
have
all.
to.
Oh, the okay to proceed.
The okay to
there's a lot of
proceed
them.
is like, you know, 500 of
If
them.
there's multiple grants, I get confused as to exactly which ones have I.
You can always ask.
Sent mail too.
That's
You
how
can
I
always
figured
ask.
it out.
And
I'll
for me,
keep
the
track.
okay to proceed is the only way I would remember to respond to the email is the next
Right.
okay to proceed comes and I know. So thank you
All
very
right,
much.
thank you.
Thank you.
So grants, we have JFO number 3237. Would anyone like to hear anything from the Department of Emergency Management on that one or have any questions?
Like,
Okay, Senator Cummings moves approval. Do we have a second?
Wait a minute.
Sorry.
I don't know what we said earlier, but you clerk black.
No. You did tell me he
He
was
had a
gonna leave.
meeting at
Okay.
12. 30, I think.
Okay,
Okay.
Senator Cummings.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Senator Perchlik, seconded. Any discussion?
I just have one question on it. In the grant application that we have, SFY 1, 2, 3. So those are fiscal years out that the money is actually being received. Just want to make sure I understood that right.
Would you like to have someone from FEMA?
Nope.
Okay, I mean, not from FEMA, from FEMA. Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, the clerk, could the assistant clerk, could please call the roll? You've got the motion.
Acting clerk, and the first one is Senator Beck.
Absent.
Senator Cummings,
Yes.
Representative Harrison, yes. Representative Kimball,
Yes.
Senator Lyons.
Yes.
Senator Perkins.
Yes.
Representative Shy,
Yes.
Senator Westman.
You also.
I don't know what's going on with this thing.
I'm glad
I
you're
leave early.
Okay, Representative Wood
Yes.
and Representative Kornheiser.
Yes.
So the vote is 8-0-2.
Thank you. Next up, we have grant number 3238.
I'll move we accept grant number 3238, amount $6,550,313.
Thank you. Representative Wood moves that we approve 3238. Do you have a second?
Second.
Senator Perchlik, seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, the
Clerk shall proceed to call the roll. Senator Beck, absent. Senator Cummings,
Yes.
Representative Harrison, yes. Representative Kimball,
Yes.
Senator Lyons.
Yes.
Senator Perchik,
Yes.
Representative Shaw,
Yes.
Senator Westman. Absent. Representative Wood,
Yes.
and Representative Kornheiser.
yeah.
Vote is 8-0-2.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming in today.
Thanks, Eric.
Grant number 3239. Would anyone like to hear from the DEC on this one? Okay, in that case, can I have a motion?
Move approval.
Senator Cummings moves that we approve grant number 3239 to approve a limited service position, environmental scientist for the Agency of Natural Resources, Department of Environmental Conservation. Give a second.
Second.
Representative Wood seconds. If the acting clerk could please call the roll.
Okay, Senator Beck, absent. Senator Cummings,
Yes.
Senator Harris, yes. Representative Kimball,
Yes.
Senator Lyons.
Yes.
Senator Perchik.
Yes.
Representative Shy,
Yes.
Senator Westman. Absent. Representative Wood
Yes.
and Representative Cornhead.
Yes.
8-0-2. Got a pattern going.
Thank you. Next up, we have grant number 3240. Would anyone like to hear from the Agency of Natural Resources about this one? Seeing none, can I have a motion?
Can you say so moved or no, I'm gonna leave it?
It would be nice if you read it, because then I'll read it.
Okay. I move to approve one limited service position, staff attorney to the Agency of Natural Resources, Secretary's Office. Staff attorney 3.
Thank you. Senator Perchlik moved grant number 3240. Request, thank you. Senator Representative Shy seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, if the acting clerk could please call the roll.
Okay, Senator Beck, absent. Senator Cummings,
Yes.
Representative Harrison, yes. Representative Kimball,
Yes.
Senator Lyons.
Yes.
Senator Perchik.
Yes.
Representative Shy.
Yeah.
Representative Wood,
Yes.
Representative Cornhusker.
Yes.
The vote is 8-0-2.
Next up, we have grant number 3241. Would anyone like to hear from the Agency of Transportation on this?
I just have a question.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who's here for that.
Do you want to come sit for a second? Sure. Thank you.
John, you want to come with me?
This is John from the Agency of Digital Services, in case there's a subject matter question.
Yeah, well, actually, it's a quick question. So this 630,000 provides partial funding and the non-federal 1.7, is that already appropriated?
Yes, that was, Candace Onquist, for the record, Agency of Transportation, that was appropriated in the FY 23 Budget Adjustment Act.
Okay,
So the Agency of Digital Services has that in a one-time appropriation.
okay.
John, do you want to introduce yourself for the record? 'Cause this is-
John Adams, Director at the Center for Geographic Information, part of the Agency of Digital Services.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Glad you were here. Representative Wood, would you like to make a motion on that one?
Sure, I would love to move that we approve grant number 3241 in the amount of $630,005 to the Agency of Transportation.
Thank you. For the second?
Okay.
Representative Wood moves that we approve grant number 3241, Senator Fiscal seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, if the acting clerk could please call the roll.
Senator Beck, absent, Senator Cummings. Senator Cummings,
Yes.
Representative Harrison, yes. Representative Kimball,
Yes.
Senator Lyons.
Yes.
Senator Berkeley,
Yes.
Representative Shy,
Yes.
Representative Wood,
Yes.
Representative Carney.
Yes.
Okay, 8-2.
Thank you. Next up, we have grant number 3242. Would anyone like to hear from the Department of Public Service?
Only that this is awesome.
Thank you. I think that would be covered under discussion. Would you like to make a motion, Representative Kimball?
I would like to move that $5,299,150 goes to, we accept the grant to the Vermont Department of Public Service, Vermont Community Broadband Board.
And do a second? Second. Representative Kimball moved to approve grant number 3242. Senator Cummings seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, if the acting clerk could please call the roll.
Senator Beck, absent. Senator Cummings,
Yes.
Representative Harrison, yes. Representative Kimball,
Yes.
Senator Lyons.
Yes.
Senator Perchik.
Abstain.
Representative Shy.
Yes.
Senator Westman, absent. Representative Wood,
Yes.
Representative Carney.
Yes.
And it's.
How do you
I
do an
that?
exception?
I don't know.
Is that a 3? Make it, that's a,
7-0.
not a no, so it's gotta be a
It would be an
No vote.
absence. Does it have an absence?
701.
701.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what happens?
No, that's
to
not
the
two.
those That are absent,
They're also absent.
so it's 7-0-3.
Yes.
Yes.
And I will check in with Betsy Ann to confirm procedures, but I know we did this last year.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I don't
maybe it's
think it's-
702 with, I think it's 702 with one abstention.
Okay.
Okay.
2
7-0-2.
with one
I've
abstention.
been told abstentions are no votes.
I don't know where I
Because you
got
can
that.
abstain in the Senate
Yeah.
with permission.
I've given you permission. Okay, next up, we have agenda item,
Grant number.
grant number 3243. Would anyone like to hear from the Agency of Natural Resources?
I would,
Wonderful.
yeah.
Hi. Thanks for being here.
Record, Gannon Osborne, Land Conservation Program
Can you say your
Manager.
name one more time? I'm sorry.
Gannon Osborne,
Thank you.
Land Conservation Program Manager at the Vermont Department of Forest Parks and Recreation.
I'm looking at number one, the Moose River Grant, conservation work that you'll be doing.
Yep.
And could you just share a little bit about what will be going on there?
Yeah, so that's a 327 acre conservation project we're working on in the town of Concord. Approximately half of the project, 196 acres, will be a fee addition to Victory State Forest. The other 131 acres of that parcel will be conserved under a privately owned, it will be conserved as privately owned land under a conservation easement held by the Vermont Department of Forest Parks and Recreation.
Okay, so it'll be added into the sort of the champion lands environment here in Victory, so.
Part of the project will add land to Victory State Forest.
Yeah.
The other part of the project will be conserved under a conservation easement.
Got it. All right. And what are the projects that will be going on within that? What is the $410,000 done for?
That is
exactly?
for the purchase of the land and the
Purchase.
purchase of the conservation easement, as well as the project costs. So the pre-acquisition due diligence, the appraisal, the title work, the survey work to support that conservation project.
Thank you.
We know if the state is gonna own the land, so that takes it off the tax rolls.
Correct.
I wonder what the impact is, tax wise, do you know?
The Agency of Natural Resources makes a payment in lieu of taxes. It's not, it is off the tax rolls, but it's a payment in lieu of taxes. And that is, the assessed value of the land as determined by the town multiplied by the municipal tax rate.
Yeah, do you know what the number is?
Not off the top of my head, but I can get that for you.
Okay.
So I'll move that we approve, grant 3243, $905,000 to the Agency of Natural Resources.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Senator Lyons moved grant number 3243 and Senator Cummings seconded. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any discussion?
Just be really helpful to know what the impact is financially on both parcels.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we can do that.
Conservation easement is all.
We can ask for that for, we somewhat regularly, this sort of transaction happens, and so we can add that to materials for whenever we hear that. I think that would be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Senator Lyons, did you have something else? Oh, okay.
That's good. Thank you.
Okay,
Yes,
but in response to
Yes.
Representative Kimball, if he doesn't have that information, doesn't feel comfortable in approving it, do we move ahead? Or if this was something that Sorsha had sent out, we could say we request a meeting. So I'm just
Or request the information email.
right before we vote on it. So I'm just asking, I don't know where Representative Kimball is, but
Yeah, I'm assuming, and I shouldn't assume, that these parcels of land are already in current use, or are taxed at a different rate than would be fair market value. So I don't think the impact is gonna be that large, but would just be helpful in the future to know what that impact is.
okay, let's do that.
Can I answer that?
You actually can't because we're in discussion now. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I'm okay with it, but I think in the future.
Okay.
I mean, so,
I want to make sure you're.
yeah.
You can tell us after the vote.
Thank you. That is, thank you both. Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, if the acting clerk could please follow up.
Okay, Senator Beck, absent. Senator Cummings.
Yes.
Representative Harrison, yes. Representative Kimball.
Yes.
Senator Lyons.
Yes.
Senator Purduant. Representative Shy.
Yes.
Representative Wood.
Yes.
Representative Cornhusker.
Yes.
Okay, 802.
Thank you very much. One final agenda item. Emily, do you mind joining us in answering Representative Harrison's questions? Oh, yeah. Thanks. So Emily Byrne for the Joint Fiscal Office. I believe the previous question you're referring to is the authority regarding federal funds in the rescission process. And in looking at the rescission statute, it includes general funds, education funds, and federal funds.
Oh, it does.
So I think as part of the emergency board revenue forecast, federal funds are included in the motion that gets adopted by the emergency board. So if there is a reduction, and I believe it's only 1%, then the Joint Fiscal Committee can convene to sort of react to that change. But if it's more than
I'm
1%.
not looking for any extra summer meeting.
Just want to know.
Me neither, but it's a change in the forecast that triggers the rescission process, and it's up to a certain percentage and then after that.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you, and I do think it's important for us to continue to explore to make sure that we're ready to start anything. Thank you all very much. Appreciate the first meeting and hope to not see you for a bit.